sometimes the situations are really awkward. And maybe what you're operating on top of is going to a meeting, there's 2, 3, 4 people, somebody in the room is, they pissed you off somewhere. They did something that was out of line, didn't work, was sideways, they did something that just is not good for you. And so you're not communicating clearly, you're being curt and abrupt, you have an attitude around it, energetically you're shut down, any one of those scenarios. So the question then is, how do we deal with that? And there's a opportunity to get what we would call get flat with somebody, which is to say, there's something on the table here, and I can't have a conversation with you because all I can think about is the fact that you did X, Y, Z. And so it's hard for me to have a communication with you because, trust is broken down, and or I can't, and I don't believe what you're telling me. And, there could be a whole story around it. And so how do we deal with those scenarios and without making it confrontational? And that's the challenge that people face. They don't want to have those tough conversations because it comes across as being confrontational, and nobody, including me, likes confrontation. So there's a little bit of language that I'll share that I think, will be valuable to anybody that's got to get into those uncomfortable conversations. And that is to open with a exact statement. So let's say, Steffany, I don't know you as well. You're not my wife. And you're a workmate. You're a friend. You're a neighbor. You're somebody that I've done business with, I've worked with. Something you did or said pissed me off or had consequences. Now, I want to approach that, and there's a couple different ways to do it. One of my favorites and works really well is to say, Steffany, I got to have a really uncomfortable conversation with you, and I don't want to have it because I am uncomfortable with it, but I also realize that it's affecting how I'm communicating with you. So are you okay if I have this conversation?
And I will say yes.
Mostly people will say yes.
What if they say
because
no?
I haven't. What's that?
What if they say no?
Okay, well, maybe we can do it next time. It won't take long. Do you want to wait till later?
Got it. Yeah. So let's say I said yes.
And then I would go into the conversation. It would be just that way. Last week when you did this or you said that, or, that last project, whatever it might be. The thing is it's way different than how do you say to somebody, without being really confrontational. And you may want to be confrontational, by the way. That's not beyond the scope of how some people want to approach it, but it's not how most want to approach it. And, so just looking at it for what it is and just saying it that way. Steffany, I got a really uncomfortable conversation. At least it's comfortable for me. But I need to get and have the conversation so that we can just get flat around some stuff. Are you okay if I do?
It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of guts to say that out loud and be at risk of the person saying, "No, I think you're wrong. You're an asshole. That's not what I said at all." Right? And then what happens?
I'm going to give you another line. But the thing is that's way different than number one, not having the conversation, or number two, having an outburst going, you really pissed me off. You're an asshole. I'm sure there's some middle ground in between that, but ultimately what I'm offering here is for those individuals those people who I don't say anything. I don't want to say anything. It's just too uncomfortable. I don't want to piss them off. I don't want to have a confrontation. That's just some language to have. And it works.
Yeah, it does. And in my experience, I have no problem with confrontation. I also know that in the moment I can come across as aggressive and confrontational if I really believe in something. And I have to be mindful that it doesn't land as confrontation or aggression with the other person. But sometimes I get fired up and I like having that excitement and that confrontation because I feel like it can work things out in a way that couldn't happen a different way. And I like to have it clear in the moment. And I think you're more pragmatic and much more diplomatic and a much nicer person than me. You know, if my friend George said to me, you know, I remember talking to him at one point and he was saying, "How is it that you can get these things happen as a woman in hockey and all these kind of stuff?" And I said, "George, it's because I'm not a very nice person." And he goes, "Well,
It's true.
yes, you are." I go, "No, no, no. I'm kind and I'm honest and I'm truthful." I said, "But I'm not nice. If I have something I need to say, I would rather say it in the moment. I would rather not operate on top of something and be prepared to be wrong and to be willing to be misunderstood and have, in some ways, the conversation to end and walk away and be complete in that regard than operating on top of something for a month or a year going forward." That's just how I do it.